Hello, hello. Happy Friday. Keep hitting the wrong button. Wouldn't be alive if I didn't hit the wrong button. Oh man, I just realized something. I got to get my earrings on. We can't do crime without the knives. Everybody's coming in. Woohoo! We ready for Friday? Okay, we got our crime knives on. Oh goodness. Okay. Hello, Annie and Rosie. Good to see you. Joan is here. Sharon creates. Sandy Michaels, yay. Glad you were able to make it tonight. And Lorna. Hey, Lorna. And Adele, good to see you. Adele, you're going to have to tell me the name of that book again because I have forgotten. Colleen, good to see you. Kathy G, good to see you. I know. Got to have the earrings and the lipstick. Oh my goodness. Y'all, there's one thing I can say about this week in crime. All of the crime people, the crime channels, all of that are hard up for something to talk about. They're hard up. And that's what you're seeing. You're seeing a frenzy with the Murdaugh stuff because they're hard up for something to talk about. Hey, Maribel. Good to see you. Gracie, good to see you. She's here somewhere. Good. Hello, Gracie. Everyone's talking about the escaped convict. Uh-huh. You live close to where he's hiding. Yeah, I'm just worried about a whole like repeat of what happened down here in Texas. We don't need that to happen. Right? Like Sharon was saying, we don't need him to hurt somebody. We do not need that at all. I've got a Topo Chico with orange crystals. And then I've been on the California mug in the last couple weeks. So I'm still got that California mug going with my coffee. Oh. So, how are you guys? Yeah, the Murdaugh mom thing is very disturbing. I wasn't going to talk about that tonight because I have not looked at that case to see what all went on there. But that looks very, very disturbing. Hello, Mary. Glad you came in. I am still working on the blanket. What are you guys working on? Tonight, I've got what's left of that first ball that I used is down to this right here. And then I'm going to see how wide it is when I finish this, whether I want to start on the other one. Because that one was caked. And I'm pretty sure that I've already used 2 of these. That other one was all caked up, and it was a very large cake, and I'm pretty sure it was 2 of these, which would be 341 yards. Maybe it was just 1. It is a pretty big ball, so maybe that was just 1. So I know I've used 1 of these, and that's what's left of it right here. So before I get into this one, I want to see how wide this is. So we're going to finish this ball here and then check it. Hey, Danny Banani. Yeah, it looks pretty. If what they're saying is true, what the kids are saying is true, it looks pretty nasty with that mama. That was a bad, bad mama. Well, I hadn't thought of that, but I can. Should be about the same with the needles. Sitting at over 6 ounces right now. And this big ball is 200 grams. 7.5. So yeah, looks like I probably just used the one, huh? I bet that's what I did. Back after you get home, see if we have backup. Oh no, Denny, what? What happened? Well, good grief. I'm sorry, hun. I am so sorry to hear that. Oh, oh, you did make the Freddy Krueger. How cool. I hope you're able to post it in the group or send me a picture. Sandy's doing the back of a mandala vest from Expression Fiber Arts, has a duster, started it. If finished, will go 2 Christmas gifts knocked out. Nice. I'll bet she is. I'll bet she is. Good grief. Okay, thank you. Awesome. Okay. So here I do want to do my little disclaimer, which is that this is a podcast where true crime enthusiasts who may also knit or crochet can gather and talk about true crime cases. This content may be disturbing to some viewers, and please be advised. Also, I am not a professional. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not even a journalist or an investigator or anything like that. I'm just a true crime enthusiast, just like all of y'all. So, and I get all of my information the same places that everybody else does. Hello, Nisi. So glad you're here. Are you fixing dinner? What's for dinner? She's usually fixing dinner about now. What's for dinner? Okay. Sarah Boone. We're going to cover Sarah Boone real quick because I've been waiting for that trial. It was supposed to be October something, and now it's not. Her 6th lawyer quit and made his recommendation that Sarah Boone just represent herself. Yeah, she should just represent herself. So they had a hearing. The judge granted it that the lawyer could quit. He is going to appoint her. He appointed her a new lawyer. I don't know his name, but he appointed her a new lawyer, which is now her 7th lawyer. And a new trial date has been set for December the 11th. So there is that. Hey, Tamara, good to see you. Yeah. 7th lawyer. And basically they're just here's what everybody is saying. Nobody can satisfy her. Nobody. So irreconcilable differences is what they're giving as their reason. Yeah, you finally caught me live. That's awesome. Okay. How many of you noticed the Danny Masterson trial, that there was a conviction and that there was we had a verdict and then we had a sentencing. Now this is a very big subject. The subject of Scientology. It's a huge subject. Serbs is on the bone, y'all. Serbs is on the bone. So, Danny Masterson, who was the actor from that 70s show, received a sentence of life with parole after 30 years. And I want to make sure y'all understand that it was not 30 years to life, because saying it that way does not really give you the full perspective. He may not get parole, okay? It's life with the possibility of parole after 30 years. So it's just let that sink in. At the age of 20, 20 years ago, let's put it that way, 20 years ago, he drugged and raped 2 women. They were both Scientologists. He is a Scientologist. The victims were Scientologists. But in the Church of Scientology, there are no victims, which means the church was trying to handle everything from the inside. And they say that, and it's a huge subject, and I know very little. My friend TJ has been helping me to understand, and we could some night, maybe he could come on just and talk with us. But since there are no victims, they always ask them, well, what did you do for that to happen to you? And the church did a lot of things to try to not have this go to court. Now, there was some kind of thing about the laws in California, and they combined things, and there were a lot more victims, but they got it down to 2 because of those laws, and I don't understand that. Also, this was a retrial, and there was a lot of things about Scientology that in the previous trial were not allowed, and this time the judge was like, no, you guys let it in, we're going to allow it. So it was allowed this time. So anyway, if you guys want to talk more about that, we can talk more about that when it comes to some of the things that go on in Scientology. We can absolutely talk more about that if you guys want to. Hi, Kathy. Yeah, no victims. Even like murder, what did they do? Yeah. We go back and see. And hello to all of you who are lurking and watching. I sure appreciate all of you as well. Glad you are here. I know. Doesn't sound professional for a lawyer to say what he said. Well, he was defending himself. Her lawyer was defending himself. She has called him a buffoon. She has called him all kinds of things. She writes to the judge nonstop. You have to help me, da 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 da. And the judge told her, he said, I read your letters. I answer you when there is something in them that is part of my job description. So set her straight a little bit on that. No, this wasn't the sex therapist one. The sex therapist one, They had some stuff. It got slowed down a little bit because of COVID. They had some COVID cases pop up in that one, and everybody was wearing masks for a little while, and I think that got kind of postponed and held back a little bit. So I don't know if they're back in court. Has anybody seen? Are they back in court? I hadn't seen. I know a lot of the stars do get away with it. Hey, Chills. Well, L. Ron Hubbard, yes. L. Ron Hubbard started Scientology in like the late 60s, something like that. Hi, Barbara. Yes, you want to talk more? Yeah, I just need to be, I need to brush up my knowledge. Yep. It's just a weird thing. Okay. Now let's talk about Murdaugh. Here's the thing. Basically, it's a shit show. It's just a shit show. I have the documents, and we shall look at the documents. And I'm going to give you my thoughts, and that is my thoughts and my interpretation of the documents. And I would like to know what your interpretations are for that also. So I don't know how much of it you guys have heard and how much of it you have read. So I did too, Sharon. That's exactly what I thought. All right, so you guys ready to see the documents? We'll read a little bit of it and then we'll talk a little bit about it, and that way we won't get like sick of it, you know, hopefully. All right, now let me see if I can make this bigger. All right, that might be a little too much there, right there. This is September 5th is when this one is date stamped to the state of South Carolina in the Court of Appeals. Appeal from Colleton County, Clifton Newman, Circuit Court Judge. He is the judge for that county. Richard Alexander Murdaugh is the appellant. Motion to suspend appeal and for leave to file motion for new trial. So they have to file a stop of the appeal. So they did file an appeal for Alec Murdaugh, and my understanding is they have to say that they are no longer appealing, they're asking for a new trial. And that's basically what this one is. Appellant offers a copy of the motion for a new trial attached as Exhibit 1 with its own exhibits labeled Exhibit A through Exhibit L as the memorandum in support of this motion and documents supporting facts relied upon not contained in the record on appeal as required by Rule 240. Da 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 da. All right, this Exhibit 1 is the motion for a new trial. Y'all with me so far? Hello, Barbara. Good to see you. If I didn't say hello, maybe I did, but hello again. Motion for a new trial. Defendant Richard Murdaugh, through undersigned counsel, pursuant to Rule 29, for a new trial, after discovering that the clerk of court tampered with the jury by advising them not to believe Murdaugh's testimony and other evidence presented by the defense, pressuring them to reach a quick guilty verdict, and even misrepresenting critical and material information to the trial judge in her campaign to remove a juror she believed to be favorable to the defense. Yes, they will just put in a new appeal. Specifically, during trial, the Colleton County Clerk of Court, Rebecca Hill, instructed jurors not to be misled by evidence presented in Mr. Murdaugh's defense. She told jurors not to be fooled by Mr. Murdaugh's testimony in his own defense. Ms. Hill had frequent private conversations with the jury foreperson, a court-appointed substitution for the foreperson the jury elected for itself at the request of Ms. Hill. During the trial, Ms. Hill asked jurors for their opinions about Mr. Murdaugh's guilt or innocence. Ms. Hill invented a story about a Facebook post to remove a juror she believed might not vote guilty. Ms. Hill pressured the jurors to reach a quick verdict, telling them from the outset of their deliberations that it shouldn't take them long. Ms. Hill did all of these things to secure for herself a book deal and media appearances that would not happen in the event of a mistrial. Ms. Hill betrayed her oath of office for money and fame. Once these facts are proven, the law does not allow the court any discretion about how to respond. It must grant a new trial. So this is what we've been hearing in the news. Basically what we've been hearing in the news. Besides, Dick has been saying, little Dick has been saying that, I don't know why you read the book. It's a terrible book. So it's just don't do it. Right? Or I'm wondering, just my opinion, and I have them, and I'm entitled to them, and that is who paid who what. That's what I'd like to know. Hi, Joyce. We don't really know. We don't really know, Joyce. We know only what's being said. Okay? And it's here. There are some affidavits in here, depositions. Okay, here's their statement of what is actually facts here. Okay, here's what they're saying the facts are. Mr. Murdaugh was indicted for the murder of his wife Maggie and son Paul on July 14th of 2022. His murder trial began January 23rd of 2023. The presiding judge was the Honorable Clifton Newman. The trial ran for 6 weeks, ending with convictions on the evening of March 2nd, 2023, and sentencing on March 3rd, 2023. The state rested its case in chief, and the defense began its case on Friday, February the 17th of 2023. Well, you could have said it that they're saying that funny, but anyway, it's out of order. I hate it when it's out of order. Court was not held on February 20th, which was President's Day. After returning from the holiday, Ms. Hill began to enter the jury rooms often. AFF of juror number 630 on August 14th, attached as Exhibit A. As the defense began its case, Ms. Hill told jurors, "Y'all are going to hear things that will throw you all off. Don't let this distract you or mislead you." That is the affidavit of Holly Miller, juror 741, on September 1st, attached as Exhibit B. Okay, according to. Additionally, Ms. Hill and juror number 826, the new jury foreperson, on multiple occasions went to another room to have private conversations lasting 5 or 10 minutes. Now, we will talk more about that, Colleen, because here's the thing. If they are able, because they are slinging crap at SLED as well, and they want that taken out. They really want to get this is what I'm thinking. I'm really glad you brought that up, because if they are able to get this done, they're wanting to try to get rid of all of that stuff from SLED. Now, the stuff from SLED, with their investigation of this case, is where we got the information that led to the changing the Stephen Smith case from an accident to a homicide. So if this stuff from SLED, it's going to reverberate to Stephen Smith, in my opinion. And I really think that may be part of it too. Just keep that in mind. It's just where my head went with it. Additionally, Ms. Hill and juror number 826, the new jury foreperson, on multiple occasions went to another room to have private conversations. Sometimes they would go into the jury room's single occupancy bathroom together. So that's what they're trying to say. They're trying to say that the court clerk went into the women's restroom, into a stall, and that the court clerk and the foreperson spoke to each other in that stall together. The foreperson never said anything about the content of those conversations to other jurors. Ms. Hill even instructed jurors they could not ask the foreperson about the conversations. SLED is the law enforcement division of, they're like the state police. They're above the local police. They're across the state. It's the state law enforcement division. Some people say it's the South Carolina law enforcement division, and it is, but SLED is across the nation. So it's the state law enforcement division. And they are another entity that comes in along with the FBI. They are their own entity by each state. Okay. So if she had conversations if Miss Hill had conversations with the foreperson, if that's true, how do we not know that the judge didn't ask her to find out if there is something there? Did the judge maybe say, I need you to ask her specifically about this Facebook post, about what was going on? We need to know more specifically about what is going on. If maybe he asked her to do that. I don't know. But we don't know, do we? Until the judge is deposed, that he does his deposition and he answers all of the questions that they have for him, we won't know that, right? And we won't know that until the Court of Appeals has a ruling. If the Court of Appeals decides that they want that this can go forward, then they're going to depose everybody. all the jurors, the judge, everybody gets deposed, and then we go forward. That's my understanding of how it works. Does anybody know anything different than that? I mean, that's the way I think it goes. I could be wrong. Yeah, I don't know. Again, I'm not a lawyer. So now they're saying that 2 days later, after they were seen having this conversation on February 23rd and continuing throughout the next day, Mr. Murdaugh testified in his own defense. Before he began his testimony, Ms. Hill told jurors not to be fooled by the evidence Mr. Murdaugh's attorneys presented, which at least one juror understood to mean that Mr. Murdaugh would lie when he testified. Ms. Hill also instructed the jury to watch him closely, to look at his actions, and to look at his movements, which at least one juror understood to mean that Mr. Murdaugh was guilty. Immediately after Mr. Murdaugh testified, four-person juror told the jury that Mr. Murdaugh was crying on cue. She also criticized the former four-person for handing Mr. Murdaugh a box of tissues when he was crying on the stand, because that's what the defense wants us to do. We all were like saying the same thing, but anyway, I don't know how true that is. I don't know. This is what the juror is saying. Sorry, I didn't have it up there. The next court day after Mr. Murdaugh's testimony, Ms. Hill told Judge Newman about a Facebook posting she purportedly saw on the evening of Friday, February 24th, the day Mr. Murdaugh's testimony concluded, while perusing a Facebook group page called Walterboro Word of Mouth. And they've got camera conference of this here. And it's a transcript of that camera conference that they had. On March 1st, Exhibit C says the post purported by the juror's ex-husband, Tim Stone, stated that his ex-wife was saying that she was on the jury and saying stuff about her verdict was going to be blah, blah, blah. Judge Newman asked her to produce a copy of the posting, and she could not produce a copy. But according to Ms. Hill, a subordinate employee in the clerk's office, Lori Weiss, discovered that the post was taken down and replaced with an apology post. Hey, Suzanne. It does sound fishy. It does. Okay, so this right here is what they are saying that she found on Facebook. And it says, folks, I posted an ugly post yesterday to which I have deleted, and I kind of in a roundabout way directed it towards a certain person. And I'd like to apologize to everyone who read it. That ugly for me to do that. And yes, I let Satan control me, and I broke down, started drinking. And when I was drunk, I made that post, and I'm sorry. So Rebecca Hill, Behind the Doors of Justice, is attached also. The apology post states the initial post was already deleted on February 16th, so it would have been impossible for Ms. Hill to see the original post on February 24th. Mr. Stone, in a sworn statement, that he made no such posts. All right. So, the entirety of Mr. Stone's Facebook activity from January 23rd to March 2nd, which confirms he did not post the apology, The supposed original post, if it was deleted, would not be recoverable at this point under Facebook's retention policies. And if he, in fact, never posted anything to that Walterboro Word of Mouth Facebook page during the trial, person who made the apology post is an unrelated person whose name is also Tim Stone, but the profile picture is not the juror's ex-husband. So they're trying to say that had the clerk not brought this Facebook post to the attention of the judge, that she would not have been removed, and that they think that she was removed because she was going to vote that he was guilty. I think that's their point. But I don't know about you guys. So far, with everything I've read so far, it still looks like he said, she said. He said, she said. What I don't know is how much weight that it holds for jurors to have done these affidavits. How much, I mean, because if they're sworn in on this affidavit, it has to be their sworn testimony, correct? And if that is the case, how much weight does that hold? Because there's not testimony done in court. It's just testimony done with a clerk and somebody subscribing it, and then it's submitted. I don't know that it holds as much weight as actual testimony in trial, is what I'm trying to say. I don't know. I don't have answers for that. Well, they don't. They don't know what was said. Even if she was speaking to the juror, and we don't know if that's true. Even if she was speaking to the juror, we don't know what was said. Nobody does. It does sound like a lot of hearsay. And you know, you guys, we know when we watch these court trials, these trials, we see that they're like, that's hearsay. We ain't letting that in. No, that's hearsay. No, judge, that's hearsay. You know, and there's a whole lot of that going on. They don't like hearsay in a trial at all. And that's what I think. It's all like a lot of he said, she said, a lot of hearsay. All right. There are excerpts from the book. Okay. The excerpts from the book in here, we can skip down to that. Let's look at that. Give me a minute here, because I got to find it again. It's in the exhibits. Almost there, I think. Okay, here we go. That is also to be said. That is a huge point, and I did not know that that was even allowed. They went to all of these jurors' homes on their own time, supposedly. They probably billed the company, but anyway, went and hunted them down and got them to talk. And some of them, because they said, if you watch some of their press conferences and stuff, they said, well, we ran into a brick wall at first, but then eventually, once the book came out, this book, this is the book right here, Behind the Doors of Justice, the Murdaugh Murders. And the first page that they are referencing is right here, page 92 of her book. While Dateline producers were in town for the trial in February of 2023, they asked for Judge Newman's cell phone number, which I was given permission to provide to them. Then Craig reached out to Judge Newman to reconnect. Craig grew up in Columbia, South Carolina, where his family and Judge Newman's family knew each other. In fact, Craig was friends with Judge Newman's late son. As Judge Newman was beginning his first of many terms as a circuit court judge in Columbia, Craig was beginning his career there at WIS-TV before getting recruited to a station in Washington, D.C., and then the NBC network in New York. That exclusive interview with Judge Newman and his daughter, also a judge, took place in Columbia. Hey, Laura. Valerie Bauerlein. Valerie Bauerlein is a National Wall Street Journal reporter who has covered the South for 18 years. She was the pool reporter sent to Moselle with pool photographer Andrew J. Whitaker of the Post and Courier newspaper. In October 2021, Valerie signed a book deal with the division of the iconic Penguin Random House Publishing Company for a book project about the Murdaugh family of South Carolina. As it so happened, my 55th birthday fell during the trial in the spring of 2023. My birthday is March 10th, and Valerie was born in late February, so it was decided to have a party for both of us at her Airbnb on the night of her birthday. She invited many of her colleagues who were covering the trial for the regional and national media outlets. There was food, birthday cake, laughs, and a little truth serum in the form of liquid refreshments. As we were cleaning up after the party, a few of us were asked how we would vote at the point in the trial if we were members of the jury. Before answering, we pledged a cone of silence, and for that reason, I cannot reveal the results of our straw jury poll. What I can say is that many of the party guests agreed with what ended up becoming the actual verdict of the trial. That's what I keep thinking too, Denny. I can't believe that Judge Newman would have put up with this. So Sunday night after Alex was sentenced, I accompanied 3 jurors from the trial to New York City. As I mentioned earlier, Craig Melvin and Savannah Guthrie of the Today Show interviewed the 3 jurors during a 7-minute high-energy segment. While we were all in the Today Show green room, we met and took photos with country music star Dustin Lynch, who was also getting ready to appear on the program to sing one of his hit songs. Once the taping of the Today Show concluded, we were whisked away from the 850-foot skyscraper building by a driver in a black Chevy Tahoe to a different studio near 30 Rock, where Dateline tapes some of its segments. What stuck out to me was that one of the jurors mentioned to a producer that she had a craving for pizza and cheesecake, and the next thing we knew, both were delivered in time for lunch. This trip was extra special for me because it was my first time ever flying in an airplane. We flew from Charleston to New York City and could order whatever we wanted. I chose pretzels and a Coke to relieve some of my anxiety. Then a black Chevy Tahoe car service was sent to pick us up from LaGuardia Airport, and we got to ride through one of those dark underwater tunnels that let us out in the city that never sleeps. NBC put us in the hands of the fabulous Haley Barber, Dateline producer, who put all of us up at a nice Manhattan hotel and fed us at a restaurant on the Avenue of Americas, a block away from 30 Rock in Midtown Manhattan, on the eve of the interviews. Afterwards, the jurors told me they felt like they had heard and loved their 15 minutes of fame in the Big Apple. Felt that they were heard. felt that they were heard, and that they loved their 15 minutes of fame. Over here, she says, working with jurors is always a unique experience. And like with any juror, we had some behind the scenes happenings with our jurors, the alternates, and the originals from the Murdaugh trial. While most of the jurors were focused and engaged during the Murdaugh trial, we did have one juror who was an alternate at one point who was not. She was more focused on the crowd, who was watching, who was or wasn't following Judge Newman's rules, and so on. For example, she caught a new visitor to the courtroom who was sitting directly across from her, who looked like she may have been taking a picture of the jury, and that wasn't going to fly with her. Y'all remember that? We had that whole thing where everybody was sent out and they were told, no, you cannot take pictures of the jury. I remember that day. She was an alternate. Another juror couldn't or wouldn't sit still during the trial, and it seemed like every time she shifted her chair, it made a loud squeak. Occasionally, attorneys would wait for the rhythm of the squeaks to subside before continuing their cross-examination. Then there was, okay, this is where it got a little bit dicey. It's a little dicey right in here. Then there was the egg lady juror. And you guys remember the egg lady. She is the one who was dismissed. She was the egg lady. This juror worked on a monkey farm in the Low Country, and she drove Judge Newman bananas one weekend, pun intended. Through the Facebook page, Waterboro Word of Mouth, about 20,000 followers saw this juror's ex-husband post about how she was talking way too much to friends and family about the case. Many people became aware of the situation after court on Friday the 24th, and it was brought to the attention of Judge Newman. Many people became aware of the situation after court on the 24th, and it was brought to the attention of Judge Newman. I typically didn't have the time or energy to watch any media coverage of the trial, but on that Friday night, I scrolled through the Waterboro Word of Mouth social media feed and saw the post from ex-husband, but he didn't mention the juror's name or her juror number. At the time, I didn't think anything of it and kept scrolling, mainly because I had been inundated with emails and messages from people all over the world about what they had heard, what they had seen, how the prosecution and defense should run their cases, how Judge Newman should rule, what to address with anyone and everyone involved in the courthouse, and so on. I felt like a principal dealing with tattletales and problems and issues every day. It was tiring. When Monday morning came, Judge Newman asked me to find the social media post. He asked her to look for it. Now, I don't know whether he asked her to talk to her, but he asked her to look for the post. One of our techies in the clerk's office, Lori Weiss, looked and couldn't find it at first. Luckily, though, she kept looking and saw where the post was taken down and replaced with an apology from the juror's ex-husband. He said Satan had gotten a hold of him and he had been drinking at the time he posted and was now very sorry. After Judge Newman interviewed the juror, he asked her to look for the post, and then he interviewed the juror. And I'm pretty sure he did that because we did hear that during testimony. We did hear that during the time when it was on camera testimony, but without the jurors being there, if y'all remember. Yes, and it's in here too. So Judge Newman interviewed the juror and corroborating witnesses about the situation. He removed the juror from the jury before court started on Monday morning. We learn later the ex-spouses had not seen each other in 14 years, and the former juror had 3 restraining orders against her ex-husband. When a juror is removed, now, see, there's a lot of things that she says in this book that I think that she should just keep to herself. I will say that about what I've read in this book so far. It's like a gossip column kind of thing. I understand coming out and talking about what your experience was like being there during this really huge case and all of that kind of stuff, which is what I expected that book to be. But some of this stuff is it's a little dicey. You know what I mean? As a person who is a official, some of it's, yeah. I just heard that that's a thing. It's cringy. It is, Colleen. It's cringy. She's a cool kid. She knows the cool words. Keep telling me, Colleen. Keep telling me. Maybe I'll pick up on the cool stuff. When a juror is removed from a jury, it's normal practice for the judge to ask if there are any personal items they'd like to retrieve from the private jury room. When Judge Newman graciously presented this question to the former juror, she said she wanted to get her eggs, which caused some laughter in the courtroom and nationally once the media got a hold of the story. Judge Newman even broke out into one of the largest grins I've ever seen. He did. I do remember that. Yeah. And a lot of this sounds high school. One of the other jurors raised chickens on their farm and had brought in a dozen eggs to whoever ever wanted them. At this time, eggs were selling for about $8 a dozen, which was very high, so it's understandable why the removed juror wanted her eggs. One of our local singer-songwriters... Oh, that was the end of that. Okay. You can't give on cringe? Okay. It's cringeworthy. I've been hearing that a lot. Ooh, it's cringeworthy. Ooh. She shouldn't have said that. That kind of thing. Okay. Let me see. This is the last part of what comes out of the book. How are you guys feeling about this so far? Are you feeling like there was anything here that they have gave as an example from the book? Are you feeling like there's anything here that is like he should get a new trial? Raise your hand. Let me put a, 1 or a yes in the chat. What do you think? Anything yet? And hello to all of you coming in. Thank you. Sandy's saying no. Denny's not going to say that word. Joan says he's... Okay. No. Okay. She does write that way, but she is specific about who she's talking about when she says we. And there's that. That's what I'm getting out of all of this too. What's true, what's not? Is she just making all this? I mean, it's a book. We want to sell the book. If somebody buys a book and they go, oh my God, you got to read this book, then everybody wants the book. That's the point, right? Right? Why now? Where did this come from? What's going on? She's self-published, by the way. She did not get a book deal. She self-published. Nobody, none of those friends from New York or any of that kind of stuff, none of that. She did have someone she wrote the book with who was supposedly a friend of somebody. It was like a friend of a friend who said, he can help you. My husband can help you, or whatever. I know somebody who can help you write the book. Okay, I'm going to read these last 2 pages because this is interesting. When I first read this today, I just read this earlier today, I read this wrong. And I thought, oh, he might get it. He just might get it. But then I reread it and it was like, no, that's not what it said. So here we go. While the jurors viewed the Moselle property, we all could hear and see that Alex's story was impossible. God gives us all gifts, and the gift of discernment is shared by many. Some of us, either from the courthouse, law enforcement, or jury at Moselle, had an epiphany and shared our thoughts with our eyes. With our eyes. At that moment, many of us standing there knew, I knew, and they knew that Alex was guilty. Sandra, good to see you. Good to see you. I'm glad you came in. It's possible. If it's possible, it's hard to say. That will also be, I think that will be a separate issue, is whether she will have jail time for the things that she said in the book. I don't know if that rises to that level. I don't. Once we were all back inside our vehicles, heavy-hearted and contemplative, our procession headed back along Highway 63 toward the town center of Walterboro. The wind had died down mysteriously, and the sun began to shine through the clouds. One of the roles of the clerk of court is to be Switzerland between the jury, the lawyers, the public, and any other entities involved. In the moments riding back in our vehicle, and with the jurors and decision makers in other vehicles. Jurors and decision makers were in other vehicles. Those of us in this vehicle, we were just regular people, and our thoughts spilled out. Just as the jury would do in a span of 3 hours, we unanimously came to our own verdict in just 3 minutes. Guilty. That's what Little Dick's having a fit about. That right there. But she wasn't with the jurors. She is not saying that she said that with the jurors. She is not saying that the jurors said that. She's saying the jurors said that with their eyes. She's not saying anybody said anything. Yeah, old Pooty Poot. No. Can we start with Pooty Poot? Mr. Harpootlian is a politician. What else you need? Okay. In my opinion, the decision to visit Moselle by Murdaugh's defense team did not work in their favor. They were hoping to show that the proximity was too close for one shooter, and they felt like the pictures didn't show the distance correctly, said Doug Brown, who worked for the defense team during the trial. Many of us question if Alex is bipolar, schizophrenic, or a narcissist, while some wonder if he snapped due to financial pressure, Paul's boating accident, and the crumbling of the family dynasty. Right is right, and wrong is wrong. When and where did his family begin to blur this fact of life? The moral compass that rules most law-abiding citizens didn't seem to exist in Alex. I don't really want to believe that a father could murder his son and wife. Sometimes, though, the line of love gets blurred and turns into a crime of passion and a crime of desperation. I believe most people cannot fathom killing or hurting a family member, especially in the name of love. But during our time at Moselle, Alex's fate was sealed. Okay. So that's the part in the book that they have as an exhibit. So those are the pages that they are saying that are telling them that there was this problem. Did you guys hear anything in all of those words I read to you? Did you hear anything that to you said, uh-oh? You know, anything at all? Yeah. And well, okay. So Sandra's saying she's going to wait till all of the jurors are questioned. So here's the thing. Like I said, once the Court of Appeals has it, then they have to look through all of this and find out, is there enough new evidence here? Is there enough? And I think it may wind up being how much weight these affidavits are. That's what I think, but I don't know. I don't see anything in the whole book excerpt that tells me. I just don't. Oh, there's fuzz on my microphone. So get my coffee. I mean, y'all tell me what you think here. I'm not asking y'all to totally agree with me. If you don't agree with me that you think there's something more here than what I'm seeing, what is it? I'd like to know what you guys are seeing. Here's the Facebook post. That's in here, but I already read that to you. And it says Timothy Stone, which they were having all of these discussions about, well, he doesn't go by Timothy, he only goes by Tim. So they said it can't be him, and they said that picture is not his. So they've included it here. And then Tim Stone's affidavit. Hello, Shag. Hello, friend. How are you tonight? What do you think of that necklace, Shad? Let me show you his affidavit. This is Colleton County affidavit of Tim Stone. Personally appear before me, Tim Stone. I am the ex-husband of blank. I did not post anything to the Facebook group Waterboro Word of Mouth between January 23rd and March 2nd. I did not post anything on this social media page or my own Facebook social media page about blank being a juror, that blank was talking way too much to friends and family about the case, or that Satan had gotten a hold of me and I had been drinking at the time I posted and was now very sorry. Nor did I post what is attached to Exhibit A, which has been represented to me to be an alleged post to the Walterboro Word of Mouth Facebook page. I do not have a Facebook page set up as Timothy Stone. My profile name is Tim Stone, and here is my Facebook page. I was never contacted by law enforcement, the South Carolina Attorney General's Office, the Clerk of Court Becky Hill, or anyone at the Colleton County Clerk of Court's exhibit about Exhibit A, or a post on the Waterboro Word of Mouth Facebook page concerning my ex-wife blank. I did not know blank was on the Murdaugh jury until I heard her voice on a recording when she was being excused as a juror and she was discussing something about eggs. Hello, Sugar Mocha. That's what she is saying. She is saying that she expressed, she that they looked at each other and that with their eyes she's saying, and that's, that is her interpretation also of what she thinks that she saw in the juror's eyes. That's her interpretation. The book is her interpretation of her own experience. So you're saying he's lying because she admitted that she had been talking to her family. And and that's what I think, Denny, because I remember that they're in, I have to go back and find it. I don't think that he said anything to her and said, "Did you do this and did you do that?" I think he had already questioned her. When we saw her standing there, or when we saw him talking to her, even though we didn't see her, it was him saying, because I've made my decision and we're going to take you off the jury. That's what you and I heard when we watched the trial. This next one is just saying this was a true copy of his Facebook post. Okay. Good night, Sandy. Okay. Hugs, darling. Hugs to you. Your hat should be coming soon. Hopefully next week. That's right, Sandy. Come on in. Come on in. Yes, you too, Jolene. Jolene, Jolene, Jolene. You get that all the time, right? Yeah. You guys want to keep reading this? We've got these other affidavits by these other jurors. Oh. Hey, Maribel. I am prepared to go a little bit longer, but before I do, y'all know what time it is, right? If you will excuse me for a moment, it is that green donut time. Serbs is down here on the, let me see, hold on. Oh, y'all can't see him. There he is. What you doing, Bubby? Oh, you got your bone? Are you on a bone? He's on the bone. You're upside down, bud. Is it time? Is it time? Drops the bone. I ask him if it's time and he drops the bone. Okay, be right back. Let's go. Let's go. Okay, he's in Mr. Fiber's hands. Him and Duke doing that the green donut thing. Welcome back, Charles. Frying pork chops and making gravy. Oh, I bet your house smells fantastic. My house smells pretty good. I really don't think so. I don't think it's going to be a new trial, but that's just me guessing. Tonight we had that Wagyu beef that we have the ground Wagyu beef, and I stir fried that, and then I added sliced potatoes, sliced real thin. I added half of an onion chopped up. While that was going, I added some spices and all that kind of stuff. And then I let it cook for a while, and then I flipped it, let it cook for a while. And then at the same time, I was making mushroom gravy, just a packet of mushroom gravy. Once everything was almost done, then I put a layer of provolone cheese on the top of that, put the lid on it, turned it off, let the cheese melt. And we had that along with that mushroom gravy over the top. Yep. It was good. It was deliciosus. Okay. Here we go. Let's see. This is the affidavit. Yeah, I know. They can though. Everybody, the lawyers write books, the court people write books. The thing that is bothering people too, I think, Barbara, because Mr. Fiber said this. He said, I don't think she should be allowed to do that. So I think it's a fine line in what she is allowed to write, is what I think. However, I think it is also unusual. To me, it's unusual that she was still a court clerk when she wrote the book. So that seems a little fishy too, doesn't it? I mean, if she had retired, I don't know. I think there should be a limit to what they can and cannot say in books. Yes, but do we know that they weren't paid to say it? Ooh, that sounds good too, though. That sounds like a good after snack. She self-published, Chelsea. She's self-published. Hi, Debbie. Hello, hello. So we got the beef. There is a cattle company close to us, and they sell them in bundles. So we bought it as a bundle, which means we got a better price on the beef than what normal. But right now I can't remember. It's been a while. It's been in the freezer, so for like 2 or 3 months, and I cannot remember what we paid for it. But we got like 25 pounds of it to get the price that we got. Okay, here it is. And that's what I keep coming back to, Colleen, is that who knows what the truth is here? I don't know that we know. So here is the affidavit of juror number 785. Personally appeared before me, duly sworn, and deposes as follows. So this is a deposition. And I don't know. Let's see. Hang on. Hang on. This is sworn to me on the 13th day of August of 2023. The notary of public for South Carolina is this person who is a notary. So it was sworn before her, but before a notary. And she does not say that she's a notary for the state. She just says, yeah, she does, because it's on state paper. It's state of South Carolina, county of Colleton, affidavit juror number 785. So I don't know. What do y'all think? She says, I was juror number 785 in the case of state of South Carolina versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh, South Colleton. During the presentation of this case after President's Day, but before Mr. Murdaugh testified in his own defense, Colleton County Clerk of Court Rebecca Hill told the jurors not to be fooled by the evidence presented to the jury by Mr. Murdaugh's attorneys. In late February, Miss Hill questioned me about a Facebook post on the Waterboro word of mouth page. She summoned me to speak with her alone in an office in the courthouse, not in a bathroom. It says that they spoke alone in an office. She told me someone emailed her about a post my ex-husband Tim Stone purportedly made, which purportedly stated that I made comments to him about the guilt or innocence of Mr. Murdaugh. She directly asked me whether I was inclined to vote guilty or not guilty. Okay. I don't think she wrote that. I'm just saying. I think that this was written for her. Anyway, I told her I had not made up my mind and that I wanted to hear all the evidence before deciding. Miss Hill said that the post said I had been drinking with my ex-husband and that while drunk with him, I expressed opinions on the guilt or innocence of Mr. Murdaugh. That never happened, and I told Miss Hill it never happened. I did not go drinking with my ex-husband. In fact, I had not seen him in approximately 10 years. I asked to see the post, but Miss Hill would not or could not show it to me. I have never seen it, and to my knowledge, no one has. I just don't think she would have talked this way. Later that day, Miss Hill told me Sled and Colleton County's Sheriff's Office personnel went to my ex-husband's house, and he purportedly confirmed he made the post. She told me she would reinstate a restraining order I previously had against my ex-husband. So, something for something, is that what they're trying to say? I did not know about the apology post referring to Satan until Miss Hill's book was published. I have since reviewed that post and can definitely state the post is not by my ex-husband. He does not go by Timothy. The profile picture is not him, and the phrasing of the post is not phrasing he would use. It appears to be a post by another person who happens to have the same name. It does not appear to be a post to the Walterboro Word of Mouth Facebook page. When Miss Hill first asked me about the Facebook posting purportedly made by my ex-husband, I showed her a picture of my ex-husband. For that reason, I now believe she always knew the apology post referencing Satan was not posted by my ex-husband. On March 2nd, 2023, the day of the verdict, I received a call from my ex-husband, Tim Stone, as I was getting on the bus to travel with the rest of the jurors to the courthouse. I did not answer. Really? This phone call upset me greatly, and I asked to speak with the clerk of court, which I did by telephone using bailiff Mr. Bill's phone. I told her I was scared. She said that the Murdaughs probably got to him. Y'all believe that? Miss Hill then again asked me questions about my opinion regarding Mr. Murdaugh's guilt. She asked if I was leaning one way or the other. I told her that Creighton Waters' closing was good, but I still had questions. She asked me what kind of questions, and I replied, questions about the guns. She asked what would make me think he is innocent. I stated that no murder weapon was found. Then she asked, well, what makes you think he's guilty? I said Paul's video at the dog kennels. Then she stated that everything Mr. Murdaugh has said has been lies and that I should forget about the guns. They will never be seen again. Okay. Yeah, it's a notary. I don't know. I know. I'm wondering if this is, I don't know. It seems strange, doesn't it? There. It also doesn't sound like something that a regular person would say. When I'm talking to y'all, I don't use those words. I wouldn't automatically sit down in a chair. Well, purportedly he said this and purportedly he said that. That's not what I would say. Well, she's told me that he said something about it in a Facebook post. You talk like a regular person. You don't just clean it up like this. It's strange to me. Strange wording. Sandra said that she has watched several videos with panels of attorneys discussing the document line by line and explaining the law. Also, the interview with the book's co-author. Okay. And okay, what I'm wondering, Sandra, have they said anything about how much weight that these affidavits hold when they gets to the Court of Appeals? How much actual weight does it hold? How much does it by the law does it come to the actual that there's enough but that they could actually give him a new trial? Are they saying that? Any of these lawyers? I haven't seen a whole lot of that. Well, I actually would not disagree with that. I actually would say that in some portion, how do you let them go out and have smoke breaks and still I mean, I don't know how that works. I'm an ex-smoker. It would be tough for me to go, but I could go for several hours without having to have one. Wouldn't like it, but I could do it. Really? I don't know. I'm still having a hard time believing that that could be true. Right. I'm sure somebody would have said, "Hey, is that true? Hey, ask the bailiff, can we go? Can we go outside?" It does. And there was somebody said something about that they did. Somebody said that the jurors were brought in and questioned, and then they just signed it. They said that it was what they said during their being questioned by SLED or something. I don't know. Y'all, can you imagine though? Can you just imagine if we have to have this all over again? Lordy, lordy, lordy. What a mess. Somebody said earlier. It all just still seems a little fishy to me too. Me too. This goes on, but I don't know that I want to keep reading. The in-camera conference. This was okay. So this, hi, Kim. Good evening. So no, but this is what worries me though, Chels, because if they get the stuff from SLED out of here, if they get a new trial and they're not allowed to bring in the stuff from SLED, where does that leave Stephen Smith? Because they had found all this new evidence during that trial. Is that in jeopardy? That bothers me. I'm worried about the Stephen Smith case. I really am worried about that. Well, I think he still got money. I don't know. I mean, Buster still got it. If he doesn't have it, is it all tied up? I mean, I don't know. It is just nuts. Oh my gosh, it's driving me nuts. Like I said, it's a shit show. Okay? Let me show you. This is what I just want to show you what I mean. This is okay. This is a transcript. This is the in-camera conference with the juror number 785, which occurred on February 28th of 2023. Okay, this is the video conference and this is the transcript from that conference. So here's all of the people who were in there, the judge, the jury, a juror, and all of these people who were part of the case. Have you put anything on Facebook? And the juror says, not regarding the case. I put a positive post on. I gave Miss Becky my full access to my Facebook. I've put positive posts on. I've done that for the past 3 years. Has anyone posted anything on Facebook about you? And blank. I wasn't aware of it until Miss Becky told me today. Now, this is the way somebody talks. That's it, Chad. I'm telling you. Even if there's a new trial and they don't use all that evidence, because I hope so, Chelsea. It worries me, though. It really does. So the court says, what did she tell you? She told blank, she asked me if I had an ex-husband, and I said, yeah. She asked me if I had talked to him about the case or being on jury duty, and I said no. And I questioned her why she was asking me that. I haven't seen my ex-husband since 2014. Does he live in the area? He does now. He lives in Cottageville. Okay. And I have 3 restraining orders against him, warning blank. So he's basically up to no good. That would be the judge. This is a judge asking. The juror says, I wouldn't say that. I'd say a lot worse, but that's a nice way to put it. Okay. But she told me that blank. I was very upset after she told me that. I have, like I said, I have 3 restraining orders against him. I wouldn't have anything to do with him if I didn't have a child with him, but I haven't seen him since 14 and we got a divorce. I've talked to him within the last year because I got a call at work that my son was in jail and needed a ride home. And I did call his father and ask him to go get him, which he did not do. But other than that, I have not seen him, talk to him, or anything else since 2014, other than getting restraining orders, and one in Orangeburg, and I have one in Berkeley. The court, wow. But Miss Becky said she had went to look for the post again, then it had been deleted, and I don't know who she talked to or anything else, but she said apparently, when did she tell you that? It was after you let us go on that last break. I was very upset, and she came down and talked to me and said that apparently, I don't know who talked to him, but said that he was drunk and he removed the post. So has she discussed the case with any of the jurors? Has the clerk discussed anything about the case with anyone on that juror? Not that I'm aware of. Okay, she was just discussing with blank. She pulled me aside, and when we went downstairs after the last break, I want to say it was after lunch, and we came back, and that's when she first told me about it. And then when we went back into court, I was kind of screening the audience to make sure that my ex wasn't there. And she came downstairs after that break and told me that she had found out that he was drunk and made a drunk post. And I don't know what happened from there. I have no clue. And I work at a monkey farm. A monkey farm. What do you do there? I work in the lab. All I do is watch monkeys. It's a testing facility where they try and come up with cures for AIDS, cancer, leukemia. You're happy to be here away from the monkeys for a while? Yeah, I miss my monkeys. Are they pretty smart, as everyone says? They're very intelligent, and they hurt and bleed and have feelings just like you or I do. This is the way she talks, not the way the affidavit read. Just saying. And these blanks and this and that are because it's coming from the transcript from the camera. So if it was not heard correctly on the camera, it didn't get printed out. That's what I think is going on with these blanks. Okay, at this point in time, have you made up your mind as to guilt or innocence? Juror, I haven't. I was trying to wait on closing arguments because those are usually pretty good. You've been on jury before? I was, but it kind of really sucked because they called us back and we were, anticipating. It was my first jury and they made up an agreement and we never got to sit on the jury. Okay. Any questions, either blank for anyone to ask? Mr. Griffin, no, Your Honor. Mr. Waters, no, sir. The court, okay. If you will stand right inside, follow her for a second. Gabby, just right outside, inside the door, but not all the way out. All right, comments. Mr. Griffin, Your Honor, I think that satisfies it, and she hasn't talked to anybody, hasn't expressed an opinion, and hasn't made up an opinion, and she's got an ex-husband that she has 3 restraining orders against him. That's understandable. Have a good night. Juror, thank you. Okay. They're going to bring me back to my car. They didn't leave you, did they? Yes. Oh, they did? Walker. No, they'll get her to a bailiff and they'll go get her and down to the bailiff, and they left. Okay. So she's leaving anyway. And Mr. Waters, Creighton Waters says, I got a name now. The court says, a name? Clifford Dandridge, B Street. Oh boy, I'm not too pleased about the clerk interrogating a juror as opposed to coming to me and bringing it to me. There it is. Right there. That right there, you guys. I'm not too pleased about the clerk interrogating a juror as opposed to coming to me and bringing it to me. So he did not ask her to talk to her. I bet that's it right there. That looks like enough right there to me. But I don't know the Court of Appeals. The Court of Appeals has to say what they think. They asked for SLED to not be allowed to investigate this and not trash their evidence. See, they didn't want SLED involved in the first place. Mm-hmm. Okay, you guys, I think I'm going to give up on this for now. Just the whole reading of this thing for now. Y'all are okay with that? That was a lot. I'm tired of reading right now. It does stink. Now, I'm not saying that it is. That's the first thing I've seen that really, really look like. So if they depose the judge and the judge says, yeah, I didn't tell her to ask her. Because if that's true, if he did not ask her to do it and she did it on her own, then yes, that's jail time. And that's what they're saying. But I hadn't heard anybody quote that yet. Nothing that I had watched. Okay, nothing that I had watched. I don't know, Chelsea. I don't know how long it takes. I don't know if there's like a set time frame for that. How long does it take for the Court of Appeals to review? I would guess that it depends on what else is on their plate. The average rule of thumb for the time of appeal is 7 to 14 months from beginning to end. That's what somebody says. Which South Carolina? Okay, these decisions are, the South Carolina Bar says, these decisions are commonly known as opinions. A decision must address all points raised except those points that the court determines are manifestly without merit. In the great majority of cases, a decision by the Court of Appeals will be issued within 45 days of hearing or submission. I saw that too, Chelsea, but this one is from the South Carolina Bar Association. So I would say the shortest amount of time would be 45 days. It really does stink, though. It all stinks. It's a bunch of crap. But it's our system, and it's the only one we got. And I'm going to have to go and tell Mr. Fiber that I agree with him that she should not have written this book. We had a big discussion on that. Oh, goodness. Right there. Right there. Boop, boop. I know. And, oh, did anybody look to see, is she still employed? Has anybody found that out yet? Is she still employed? Heard she was suspended. Sure, they would, and it would be their right within our system. It is their right. If all of this is true, it is his right to have a new trial. Absolutely, I am not saying it's not, for sure. You heard she was suspended? Says she has not responded to a request for comment. I'm not finding it though. Sorry. I'm looking, but I'm not finding. I have to let y'all know. I don't know. I couldn't find it. But y'all said that you thought it was suspended. Yeah, it is. It would have to be, because from what I understand, it would have to be a new judge. If this judge is deposed and has to give a statement, that means that he now cannot preside over a new case. That's my understanding. I don't know the law too good, but that's what I was hearing in certain places. Okay, you guys, I'm going to go. I love y'all. Let's just wait and see. This was a lot. This is a lot, and it's just crazy, and I do not know what to tell you. We're just gonna have to wait it out. I will not bombard you with any more of this. We'll move on to something else for a little while, and we'll see how it goes, right? Exactly. We got to go by what the law says. That is exactly the point. And what are the things we talk about here, and that is, what does the law say, and what happens in the trial, and what happened with the evidence, and what happened with, because that's the system we have, and that's what's interesting is to us, is that how this all plays out in a court, and that's what it fascinates me, and that's what I think fascinates you guys too. Yep, we have to see what the system does. Okay, you guys. Bye, everybody. Thanks for being here. Have an awesome weekend. If I don't see you again, I'm probably going to sit over there in my chair and do my next my Sunday. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'll sit over here, but we'll see. All right, y'all. I love y'all, and I'll see you guys soon. Have a great night.